Hi, I'm Reed, and you're watching Teen Kids News. Let's start with our top story. There's an old saying that children should be seen, but not heard. That disturbing comment traces its origin way back to a 15th century clergyman in England. Fortunately, a lot has changed since then. But as Alexandra tells us, not enough has changed.
In 1989, an historic agreement was reached by countries around the world. It was called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. While it was a major step forward in improving the lives of children, there's still much work to be done. To talk about that, we're joined by Dr. Yvonne Vissing. She's an international child rights advocate, a college professor, and the author of more than a dozen books. Her latest is this one, Children's Human Rights in the USA, Challenges and Opportunities. What exactly is the Convention on the Rights of the Child?
The Convention on the Rights of the Child, or it's called the CRC, is an international treaty that defines what a child is, what human rights they have, and what the obligations of the government has toward protecting children's rights.
Who's covered under the convention?
Anyone under age 18 is considered a child.
Let's talk about some of the rights outlined in the convention. One of them is Item 32, Protection from Harmful Work. Tell us about that.
When young people are engaged in work, it needs to be safe. They are not supposed to be involved in anything that's dangerous or harmful to them in any way. It also means that work should not take priority over them going to school, that school should come first. It also means that children should be paid fairly.
I certainly agree with that. What's an example of another important right?
Number 19, which speaks to the protection from any kind of abuse, physical, sexual, or emotional, or neglect.
Well, I strongly agree with all of that. In all, there are more than 50 rights listed in the CRC. Governments around the world have ratified them, meaning they pledge to follow the CRC. So, Dr. Vissing, how much of an impact has the CRC made on the lives of kids?
It has been huge. The countries that have ratified the CRC end up having children who are healthier, that they are happier, that they do well in school, that they have less poverty, there's less hunger. It really has made a huge difference in their lives and the lives of their families and communities.
However, it's not all good news. According to the UN, many children still find their rights seriously violated virtually every day. What more needs to be done?
Countries that have ratified the CRC really need to be diligent about implementing all of them with the provisions, the protections, and the participation rights that people have. It's very important that we speak up.
Good point. Thanks for explaining this all to us, Dr. Vissing.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to enlighten you about the importance of children having human rights.
Protecting the rights of children is so important. Every nation that belongs to the UN has ratified this convention, except for one country. Surprisingly, that country is ours, the United States of America. We'll look into why that is in a future report. For Teen Kids News, I'm Alexandra.
I'd say you could still keep up on politics and policies because eventually you will be able to vote, and those policies that are getting talked about now will affect you in the future.
We've got lots more coming up on Teen Kids News, so stick around. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on Teen Kids News. We'll be right back. This season, we're putting a spotlight on people who didn't let failure get in their way.
His first name was Theodore, but his friends called him Ted. He had written a book for children. It was quite different from most children's books. His characters looked strangely shaped and droopy. Ted seemed to avoid using straight lines. Even things like buildings looked wiggly. His book failed to impress. It was turned down by 27 publishers. Ted was actually planning to throw it into the incinerator when he ran into an old college classmate. The classmate happened to work for a publisher. He looked at the book and helped Ted get a book deal. And that's how Theodore Geisel got started. You may not recognize his name because he wrote under a pen name, Dr. Seuss. He would go on to write and illustrate more than 60 books, including The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, and The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. In one of his books, Geisel wrote, "You'll miss the best things if you keep your eyes shut," meaning, don't let the fear of failing blind you to opportunities. With If at First You Don't Succeed, I'm Emily for Teen Kids News.
The man who co-founded the company that invented the iPhone, the iPad, and many other game-changing devices had a strange way to deal with stress. When the pressure was getting to Steve Jobs, he'd go to the company's bathroom, take off his shoes and socks, and soak his feet in the toilet bowl. Look, I know he was a genius, but I can't imagine soaking your feet in toilet water is a smart thing to do.
We have to take a quick break, but don't go away because Teen Kids News will be right back. This report is brought to you by the National Road Safety Foundation.
Who better to send a message to teens about safe driving than other teens?
We found that teens are an untapped resource for ideas that other teens can easily connect with.
That's why the NRSF sponsors contests throughout the year that encourage teens to use their creativity to truly save lives. Teens are invited to come up with their own concepts for PSAs on various traffic safety issues.
Dude, you need to stop.
One of those contests is Safe Rides, Save Lives, and the NRSF partners with one of the biggest student groups in the country to get their members involved.
Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, FCCLA, is a career and technical student organization whose mission is to reach students in family and consumer sciences courses and their teachers so that they can integrate FCCLA into their classroom and they can graduate students from high school prepared to be successful in their families, careers, or communities, whether or not they choose to go into college or directly into the workforce.
With more than 250,000 members, it's not surprising that every year, some wonderful and wonderfully creative videos are submitted. This year's top video came from 18-year-old Carson Wycherly from Saratoga Springs, Utah. Joining Carson is his teacher, Nathan Pickett, and his FCCLA chapter advisor, Candace Wilson. First of all, Carson, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
How did you find out your video was this year's winner?
I was in school and Pickett, my teacher, he texted me that we won, and it was like really big surprise, and it was really cool.
I'm sure it was. Miss Wilson, what was the reaction in the chapter when one of your own took top honors?
I actually remember that we were after school. We had a bunch of students working in the classroom, and I got the email, and it, of course, makes y'all excited. I had a smile on my face, and so I jumped up out of my chair and said, Carson won, and everyone was excited, and we have a great group of students that just celebrates everybody's success.
Carson, describe the concept for your PSA.
It's basically it's a scene of two teen drivers who get into a car crash because one of them likely isn't following, the rules of passenger self-advocacy. And, we kind of imply that one of the people present in the car end up dying from the car crash.
Mr. Pickett, what did you think of the concept when you heard it?
When I heard the concept, I thought this could work. It sounded interesting and intriguing. And when they came up with the concept of what if we had someone that when the driver was out of focus that actually revealed a tragedy or something potential bad happening, I thought that is good. That is going to be very good.
So, Carson, walk us through the process up to submitting your video to the contest.
Right. Well, me and my partner Noah, he's the main guy I worked on it with. We went through and we were involved in like writing it and filming it and editing. And it was super cool. It was probably over the course of a week. And then we submitted it through our teacher and through FCCLA.
And you won. In addition to $3,500, part of the prize is getting to work with Emmy Award-winning TV professionals. Tell us about that.
That was a really cool experience. Yeah, I was able to do a call kind of like this with an editor, and he kind of just went through my video.
Really, from one editor to another, he did a fantastic job. I didn't know what to expect, and what I got was a project like another editor would have sent it to me. It had everything in it I needed. It was clear. It was multiple layers.
And, told me the things I did well, which was really nice to hear, as well as, give me some tips on how I could improve. And we kind of just worked together to create a video that like met the parameters.
What did you learn working with the editor?
Just how organized he was, like in high school. I'm sure Piggott knows about this, but we're not the most organized people. We're kind of all over the place in our editing and stuff, but it was really cool to get to work with an editor that was like really disciplined and really on top of it.
So you're saying for this first shot, it would be more subtle?
Mm-hmm. And then in the close-up, because we have the emphasis on like those hazard lights, you could bring it up a little bit, and it would kind of do an up and down. It's really exciting.
And it's pretty cool that it made its debut at FCCLA's big national conference. Let's take a look. Nice. So how do you think it turned out?
It turned out better than expected. It's always a lot of fun for me to see a video like this where I don't even know if I could do as good a job as what these two did on their video. And fun for them to have this professional experience,
And Miss Wilson, do you feel it gets the message across?
Yes, and in fact, seeing it on the big screen at nationals, it's kind of what it's all about in FCCLA is to use a skill that you're learning within high school, but to give service to your community.
Carson, clearly you went into this with a pretty good working knowledge of video production, didn't you?
Sure, yeah, and it's honestly all due to my teacher. He's the reason I could even be as good as I am now. He's shaking his head, but he's been very monumental in my journey.
We just empower the talent.
You both must be proud of him.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of Carson for reaching out, joining FCCLA, and submitting his work.
I'm sure you are. Carson, what are your plans for the $3,500 you won?
I've been putting it towards a camera. I'm saving up for my own equipment so I can start making more of my own stuff, which is exciting.
Great. Again, congrats all around. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
To enter the Safe Rides, Save Lives contest, you need to be a member of FCCLA, but there are many other contests sponsored by the NRSF. To find one you might want to enter, check out nrsf.org. For Teen Kids News, I'm Sydney.
Still ahead, more Teen Kids News, right after this short break. There are many things we take into consideration when deciding what colleges to apply to. For example, cost, academics, size, location, and, of course, the majors offered. But you may be surprised to learn about another consideration that can have an influence on your college experience.
Studies show that looks matter, meaning that how nice a campus is can actually have an impact on how well you will do at the school. To tell us more about this, we're again joined by our big man on campus, Rob Franick. He's the Princeton Review's editor-in-chief. Rob, why is the look of a campus important?
Well, let's remember that a college campus isn't just for studying. It's a place where many students will live or at least spend a great deal of time on. Many students prize campus beauty as part of their full college experience.
Rob, every year the Princeton Review does a survey on topics important to students. One of those topics is rating the beauty of the college campus. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. We included our campus beauty question in our survey since the very beginning, which is now more than 30 years ago.
So let's count down the country's 5 nicest campuses. Where do we start, Rob?
We're going to start with number 5, and it is Florida Southern College in Lakeland, Florida. It is 35 miles east of Tampa. It's located on 110 acres that was previously a citrus grove. Now, Florida Southern has 16 structures designed by the iconic American architect Frank Lloyd Wright. It has a circular reflecting pool with a fountain that shoots water 45 feet in the air through 75 different jets. It is a campus that is glorious. I was there recently, and it is as stunning as ever.
Guess hydraulics is probably one of the majors they offer.
Well done.
Number 4 on the list is all the way across the country, isn't it?
Yes, it is. From Florida, we're going to travel to Portland, Oregon, to Lewis and Clark College. Now, Lewis and Clark is on a bucolic campus 6 miles from downtown Portland, nestled in a forest of 137 acres. Nearby to campus is Mount Hood, the Columbia River Gorge with a 620-foot high waterfall, and of course, Tryon Creek State Park. Now, fun fact about Lewis and Clark is that the campus has a bee garden apiary right on campus.
Sweet. We're back on the East Coast for number 3.
That's right. Number 3 is Bryn Mawr College in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. That's right outside of Philadelphia. Now, the campus was designed in part by Culbert Box and Frederick Law Olmsted, known designers for New York Central Park and, of course, Boston Common in Boston, Massachusetts, as well as the master plan for the Great Chicago Exposition in 1893. Now, one fun fact about Bryn Mawr is that it means large hill in Welsh.
So is the campus actually on a hill?
It absolutely is. But the entire region is hilly, hence the name.
What school came in second?
The second school on the list is Virginia's University of Richmond. Now, Richmond has architecture that gives off historical castle vibes. It has secluded gardens. It has lush plantings that seem to bloom all year round. It has a rippling lake in the middle of it all banked by Adirondack chairs.
Guess those chairs make this university a true seat of learning.
Well played.
Who takes top honors as the most beautiful college campus?
This year, number 1, and deservedly so, is the University of San Diego. That's, of course, in California. It has a 180-acre campus atop a mesa overlooking San Diego, Mission Bay, and, of course, the Pacific Ocean. It also has stunning architecture and a perfect climate.
They're all truly beautiful, but how big a role should the appearance of a campus play in our decision in choosing a college?
Yeah, it's a good question. And when all things are created equal, when students are thinking about GPA and SAT and ACT scores, and they have that in common with all of their schools, then they start to look at other things, and campus beauty being one of them on that list, and a very high one.
Nice to know. Thanks, Rob.
Of course, you're welcome.
How high campus beauty ranks on your list is obviously a very personal decision, but it's nice to know that in addition to being rigorous, college can also be a great place to spend 4 years. For Teen Kids News, I'm Reese.
Still ahead, more Teen Kids News, right after this short break.
Go outside in a backyard or the woods on a summer evening, and you might see tiny blinking floating lights. What you call them pretty much depends on where you live. Out west, and in New England, they're called fireflies. In the Midwest and in the South, people call them lightning bugs. To be clear, fireflies and lightning bugs are the same creatures, but with 2 different names, both of which are wrong. Fireflies aren't flies, and lightning bugs aren't bugs. They're beetles. Not only are they harmless, they're helpful because they eat pesky insects. But these fairy-like beetles are dying out in many places across our country because humans are destroying their habitats. Excessive outdoor light at night and pesticides are endangering the species. Unless we take steps to reduce the use of pesticides as well as outdoor lighting, the future for these cute critters is looking pretty dim. For Teen Kids News, I'm Katarina.
Well, that's our show for this week. Tune in here for more Teen Kids News next week, or catch us anytime on our socials. See you then.